My hope is to figure out what other people are really good at and put them in positions to match their responsibilities with what they're really good at. This is a candy store. You can get candy in lots of places. Like, what is the reason why you would come and spend your money and time with us versus somewhere else? The thinking is I want to reward customers for spending with us. We are super lucky to have my wife's aunt, Sally, far more engaging than I am. She knows pretty much everyone because she grew up in this town. So like, she is awesome behind the counter, and she is now
Gambé.
That's never happened before. I don't know
That's
somehow
rough.
broke my.
It's
a good start
right there.
It's a good
Great
start.
start.
Just excited.
Welcome back to the Doughboys podcast. I'm your host Logan, joined by my co-host Joshua Foremost and McGill. Today, we're also super excited to have Dylan back on the podcast, this time in person. Dylan has a background in various business roles, including working for the Harlem Globetrotters and being a very early employee at DoorDash. Now operates a brick and mortar candy store, The Sweet Spot, located in Hillsboro, Illinois. We had Dylan on a few months back to talk about that. Today, excited to have you back, Dylan.
Excited to be back. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. For anyone who didn't see the first episode, could you kind of just give us a quick overview of what The Sweet Spot is?
Absolutely. So we opened about 7-8 months ago. It is a old school brick and mortar retail specialty candy shop. So we have like 1,000 SKUs total, a little more than that actually. Candy, glass bottle soda, ice cream, chocolate truffles, gourmet stuff, caramel apples. If it's appropriate for your sweet tooth, we aim to carry it. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far. We still got a long way to go and stuff to figure out, but everyone's been super supportive, and you can't be too angry walking into a candy shop, right? So you get a lot of smiles and a lot of good times in there.
Yeah. Awesome. So we kind of talked about really the Sweet Spot as a whole on the last episode, and today we want to focus on kind of some updates that have maybe happened. So one thing that I know you talked about on the last episode was for the first kind of 6 months, you wanted to be behind the counter.
Yes.
And when I've gone in there, I've noticed you kind of taken a step away from that. So could you talk to us about what that transition has looked like?
Yeah. So the best way to figure out like how to run a business is do it yourself and do everything yourself. There's like dots you will connect by doing it yourself that you wouldn't necessarily otherwise recognize if you don't. So that was a super intentional decision. And like, I'm not going to never be behind the counter again. Like I'm still going to be out there a lot. I think it's important and helpful, but from the start, I wanted to spend time figuring out how to do it, try to simplify as many components of it as possible so that someone else can slot in and it would be a super easy transition for them. And there's always a slight learning curve, but we are super lucky to have my wife's aunt, Sally, who's come in working with us full time. And she is now basically the face of the shop. So we were lucky to have her come a couple times last year, especially toward the holidays, to help out when it was super busy on her off days and come just learn the system. We Square, super intuitive. So she wasn't coming into it blind, and it's gone really, really well so far. It's given me a little bit more bandwidth back so I can do my ordering and inventory management and all the other stuff that I have to do during the day when the shop is open, as opposed to, a couple hours before and after we close. So no, it's awesome so far. And the one other thing I'll say about it is going into this, I was hopeful and optimistic that the format of the store could be one in which like a single person could operate it because that is something, if it's not too intense, it's just easier to scale. Yeah. So knock on wood, so far that has proven to be true. And if that is the case, then the prospect of opening another one down the road becomes much less daunting task.
Was it difficult for you to step away from being behind the counter full time?
Not at all. No.
Okay.
I very much enjoy standing there, seeing people come back, talking to them and everything. But it's not like there's a gazillion people in the store every second of every day. So there's a lot of time when you're sitting there and there's no one there. And like, that's not the most exciting thing as well. I'm fine to step back, and, I'm still there pretty much every hour that we're open with Sally, sometimes out front, sometimes in the back doing other stuff. But no, that was not difficult.
I would say a lot of entrepreneurs, they have kind of the difficulty being able to step away. they think no one else can do this better than me, or if I'm not there doing it, it's not going to get done right. And that's something that keeps them held back from being able to grow.
No, that's very true. And I was like that for sure. Probably my first couple years at DoorDash, which was like, I was at the Globetrotters before that. But that whatever year, 2 years was like getting used to the real world. I wasn't like, I know it all quite yet, or didn't have that mentality. And then the first couple years at DoorDash was very much like that. So it wasn't so much micromanaging as it was like, I won't ask someone else to do this because I've been doing it. I like got it down. I'll just do it because it's easier for me to do it than hand it off. And over time, you realize that, you can't do anything if you have that mentality, and like no one else is going to be able to grow and contribute ideas and help things get better if you do that as well. So I learned, through experiencing that myself, that I gotta let things go. And at this point, I'm like, the only thing I know for sure is like I'm not the best at anything. Like there's someone else that can do literally everything better than me. I hope, and like the store is not at this level yet, but over time, if we grow, if we have more people join, like my hope is to figure out what other people are really good at and put them in positions to match their responsibilities with what they're really good at. Of course, if there's things people want to learn, like you can add more things to their plate over time. But that's kind of how I viewed my role at DoorDash, as I had more people on the team and all that kind of stuff. And I'll take that same mentality into the sweet spot. I want to know what things are like, how to do things, unless it's a super technical hard skill that I just don't have. But then it's like Sally is far more engaging than I am. She knows pretty much everyone because she grew up in this town. So like she is awesome behind the counter. She's coming up with ideas. And the beauty of having your own thing is you can implement that idea the next day. So there's been a number of things that we have tried as on account of, her observations and suggestions. And I hope that continues for a long time.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that kind of two things. One, you're self-aware to recognize your own strengths and weaknesses. And then you also seem to have a good eye for noticing those in other people. Have you always been that way, or is that kind of something that's been developing over time?
Good question. I don't think it's always been that way. I think over time, and as you see more things just in a career sense happen, and you see how people deal with things and you get in more situations, I think you develop intuition is not like a measurable word, but like you just kind of see it over and over again. You see things handled well, you see things that go sideways, and you just learn from those, and then you're never going to make the right choice or have the right answer 100% of the time. But over time, your calibration gets a little bit better on when to say, I should do this. I should ask this person to do this. Oh, this new responsibility is coming. So-and-so is the best person to take that new thing on. So I think it's just constantly improving over time.
The new hire, what did the process with her being family, what did that look like? Was that interview type? Was that...
Oh, so
you're just like, hey, you want to step behind the counter and sell some candy?
Honestly, we knew she was coming up on retiring from her role. She worked at the housing here for a long time, and she's like ultimate hustler. Okay. And personality wise, it's like if I were to dream up someone to stand behind a counter and greet people in a candy store, like she was it.
Yeah.
So even before, and I honestly don't remember exactly how it came about, but even before the prospect of hiring someone came up, in my head, I was like, my ideal person is Sally. And then we opened the store, or we were getting close to opening it. She was always super excited, offering to help, came and helped a couple times. And I was like, Sally, if you want to, like, come on over, we'll make this thing happen. Very quickly was like, yes, I would love to do that on her part. And I was like, no brainer, let's go, easy. She shares a lot of the philosophy on welcoming people, creating a welcoming space, just being like fun and nice and bubbly and like all the things that, again, I would hope someone embodies, that is standing behind the counter, welcoming people into a candy store. So it was a super easy, there was no interviews, nothing like that. A super easy decision, and it's been awesome so far.
At the risk of sounding really like in Chinese culture, they have like feng shui, like it's like it's called like wind, water, and it's like how things flow.
Yeah.
But I've noticed being young getting older, the things that are like supposed to happen, like as you were talking about that hiring process, it's almost like things flow like wind and like water. Like water just runs its natural course. like down through gravity.
Yeah.
And it would just like, as it hits off things, it'll bounce and it'll go the right direction. And it's almost like that happens in these like businesses. Like from the get go, you were like, well, I want this type of person. And then you already knew Sally and she was already there. I find that like really fascinating that's just kind of how it seems to work with people who are self-aware as yourself as well. You notice those things. And then when the time is right, it just clicks and it happens.
Yeah.
With Logan, that happens all the time. And someone who doesn't know him, you'll be like, wait, where did this business come from? But you don't realize like he's like been like flowing or already had that idea. And then the time is right and boom, it happens quick.
Yeah.
It was interesting as you were saying, like spend 6 months behind the counter so you can know your business and run it. And then when you got Sally, then she was making suggestions that you hadn't even thought of. So it's like another benefit on top of having someone that's like running the store.
100%.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that stuff happens all the time. After you have done something for a while, you come up with some implicit or explicit assumptions about how it should work or what you should do. But you become blind to little other things that other people are going to recognize when they step into position. So like we sell freeze-dried candy. It's not the cheapest thing in the world. The bag we sell it in is kind of big. It's $7.99. Sally was like, I see lots of people walking over to the freeze-dried candy. Take a look at the price. And then they don't get it because it's too expensive. We have smaller bags that we can put it in and have a small version that's cheaper. Like, let's try it. We did it that day. We sold 4 small bags of freeze-dried candy. So like the stuff like that, what she will pick up on and perceive is just going to be different than how I view things and what I pay attention to. So you get that kind of stuff in the room and you keep bringing other people's, ideas and opinions in and create a space where people are encouraged and feel, comfortable bringing up ideas, good or bad. You'll get things like that. And hopefully over time, you find more and more, they compound it on each other. And next thing you know, you're running a pretty decent business.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a philosophy on when an employee brings an idea forward that you might like off the bat, you're like not comfortable with? Do you have a philosophy on how you respond to that so you're not shutting them down from bringing up ideas in the future?
Yeah, there's no hard rules around that, or I wouldn't say I have any structure, at least at this point. At some point, maybe. But what I would say is a couple things. One, I like very explicitly say, like, give me ideas. What's working well, what's not working well. If there's certain areas I'm thinking about or, campaigns we're about to run, we'll bounce ideas, and like no idea is a bad one. If there's ever an idea thrown out that for whatever reason won't work, then typically the reason is because the person doesn't have the context behind why we do things a certain way. So what I'll do in that scenario, and I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'll like take a step back from the idea. It's not just a no, it's a like, the reason it's this way is because XYZ, and like that actually prevents us from doing the thing that you're recommending. So you got to give the context behind the no or the yes or whatever it is, so the person understands the bigger picture. But then after that, it's like, keep them coming. Like I love it. What do you think about this other thing?
And you would do that in the moment, or you'd wait till like after the discussion, pull them aside, like if it was like a group meeting? Not
usually in the moment. Actually, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think as an organization gets bigger, as there's more people in the mix and different, positions and responsibilities that people have, it might look different. Like if we have 10 stores and there's a whole bunch of people who are behind counters in each of the stores, and then you have someone managing inventory and someone else doing social media, like all those things need to work together and communicate in order for it to work. At the moment, it's like, me, my wife, Sally, and my mother-in-law, Betsy, who are like the 4-headed monster doing this thing. 3 of us live, next door to each other. And the other one's in the store every day because she works behind the counter, Sally. So like we can very easily communicate and talk about what's coming up and do that stuff. So for right now, that works really well. At some point that may, have to evolve, but we're not there quite yet.
Yeah. So outside of the 4 people who are really kind of running the business, are there any other places that you go to for inspiration on getting those different perspectives or ideas? Maybe books, podcasts, talking to just some other advisors? And I'd actually like to hear this answer both for the sweet spot and then just like personally, how do you get different perspectives in life?
Yeah, it may not be the healthiest way to go about things, but like the work-life continuum. Like, I don't like thinking of those as separate things. It's just like, I'm here, I'm thinking about the store right now, or like maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm at the gym, or maybe I'm like making dinner and hanging out with my wife or something. So it's kind of fluid. Where do ideas come from? I listen to a lot of podcasts. How I Built This, Freakonomics. I listen to some, what's the search engine? There's a bunch of different ones. Some sports built into the sports one. But anyways, ideas kind of come from anywhere. I think it's like there's probably a lot of research and science behind creativity and ideas and stuff like that. But I don't know the answer. I will just have some ideas of what I see resonating with customers in the store, maybe some things that like I want to try or do. And then you always kind of have those in the back of your mind. And then you'll be going throughout the day and, go into another store or listen to a podcast or do whatever. And be like, oh, that's a good idea. Like maybe this would work. Maybe this would be fun to try. And then again, when you like run the thing, it's pretty easy to just go do it. I think the hardest part is probably actually, I have a notes app on my phone with like 20 different things that I've thought of and want to do at some point. The hardest thing is like there's a bar you need to make sure you don't go below for the quality of executing that thing. So what can you reasonably do and do well, and make sure you don't take on too much? That becomes probably the more tricky thing.
There's never a shortage of ideas to try to implement. I have, what I do is like a new business idea will pop in my head. It's like, there's absolutely no way I can put any mental energy towards this right now. So I'll go into my phone in a reminder and I'll just like quickly jot down like a paragraph of notes and then snooze it for like 6 months from now to revisit.
Yeah.
And I've got stuff like that for like the next 3 years.
I do the same thing. I love
it's
it.
Like, I cannot do this right now, but it's a good idea. I want to look into it later.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's really funny. For whatever reason, we'll give you the exclusive on something that will happen in the future. I think it'd be fun to have like a children's book that incorporates like physical candy that gets sold with that children's book that you can eat as you read the book. So think of like the setting of this book is going to be in a candy store. We have this bulk wall, so we have all these crazy, big gummy sharks and starfish and all these other things. So have a book, like a kid's book, have a bag of candy that's, built custom to go along with this book. And it's a package deal. And then you read it to your kid. You guys eat the candy. It's awesome. And then you got to come back and buy more candy because you got to refill it to read the book again. I was like, that would be a fun thing to do. And then I was like, I can't do this right now, nor do I know anything about that. So I sent myself an email and I snoozed it until like next year. So someday there might be a book when that comes. You guys will be the first to know. But I do that quite often. That's really funny.
Moving forward, what are some long-term goals that you are not snoozing currently?
I'd say the most immediate one is opening another location. I think going into this, I liked the business model as far as I could tell. Relatively inexpensive product, pretty accessible for most people. It's like a routine thing. You don't get candy once a year. You can come in and spend a couple bucks and get candy once a week if you want.
I want to take a quick moment to interrupt and thank this video's sponsor, The Annex. All these videos were filmed at The Annex at Lincoln Square in Hillsboro, Illinois. They offer workspace memberships, event space rentals, conference room, and more. So if you're interested in any of these services, be sure to check out The Annex at Lincoln Square in Hillsboro, Illinois. Thank you to The Annex for giving us a spot to record these videos and for helping to provide this space and service in Hillsboro.
Shelf life is really strong. Again, like it can be operated by really 2 people, I think, is what you need. The biggest barrier is like you get $3,000 of candy in a shipment, and like that's a lot of big boxes to bring into your shop. So like there's a physical constraint on inventory, but that's not super challenging to get around. But anyways, I thought the model was an interesting one that could work and could work in many places that don't have something similar. So Hillsboro's gone awesome so far, and like not going to let up on the gas there, but I'd love to try it in another town to see if Hillsboro was an outlier or if we can replicate that. If you can replicate it like another 2 times, maybe 3 times, then like there's a really interesting opportunity or proposition to then say, like, what small town wants this? Here's the playbook for how to do it. Go ahead and do it.
Like sell the playbook.
Yeah, it could be franchising. I don't know
Okay.
exactly what it would look like. Cross that bridge later. But I always thought that would be a fun thing to try to do if the store was successful and could accommodate that. So I think the most immediate thing is let's close out, continue to do this year. Like we still haven't gone through a full year yet, so there's still plenty to learn and improve on. But then let's find another place, and I'm in no rush to do this, but find another location to see if we can go.
You got some in mind?
Go do it again. There are a couple in mind.
Yeah,
a couple locations.
Very close or further apart from Hillsboro?
Not super far. I'd want to be within an hour, so that you can go back and forth between them. But yeah, that's probably the biggest, like, I call it longer term goal. It's not super far away, but that's the next thing. There's some other stuff I want to do at this store that I think would be really fun and test out. More short-term, immediate things to do, but yeah, that's the one long-term one that comes to mind.
Yeah. So potentially having multiple stores within like an hour of each other, is there any data or things that you can rely on to make sure they're not like stealing sales from each other? Or is that not even a concern?
I'm not super concerned with it. We do have like a customer directory. I pretty much know zip codes, not for everybody, but for a lot of people, where people are coming from. We see people come in the store and talk to them all the time. So this is more anecdotal than, hard quantitative data, but we do have a good amount of people that come in from other towns. So like there's a few that I probably wouldn't go to in the short term, just because like they come in all the time. Litchfield, for example, it's like 15 minutes away. Like you don't need to have two stores within 15 minutes of each other. But Facebook data, who our fans are, like I can see where all these people are, use that to help. But no, there's not, like, to drive 30 minutes to go to a candy store is like, people are not going to do that super consistently. So I'm not ultra concerned with cannibalization of the current customers. And honestly, even if there is a little bit of that, I think the incremental market you capture by being in another town is going to more than make up for that. So I don't know what the sweet spot is, pun intended, of like how far away these places need to be in order to optimize who you service and not cannibalize too much. But that's one of the things I'm not super concerned on. We'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah. So on the last episode, we talked about some pretty successful marketing strategies that you were using. One example being the Burrow Bar. So one, if anyone didn't see the last episode, could you just briefly talk about the Burrow Bar? What that was? And then two, are there any other new creative marketing strategies you've implemented since?
Yeah. So Burrow Bar came up with this with the movie theater across the street, Orpheum. Before we opened, actually, we knew at the end of the year the new Wonka movie was coming out. So we thought it would be fun to actually recreate the golden ticket in the chocolate bar, have some pretty cool, exciting prizes for people to win if they open their chocolate bar and found the golden ticket. So we partnered up with the movie theater. We made many thousand chocolate bars. We hid 5 golden tickets in there, which got you a free year of candy, which is a subscription to the candy store. You get a little souvenir bin and you get to bring it in, fill it up once a month from our bulk wall. And the movie theater, you got an unlimited free movie ticket from that. So yeah, there was 5 gold tickets, and then there was 10 silver tickets and a bunch of bonus prize tickets, free movie, free candy, things like that. And yeah, it was really, really fun. We made a little video to introduce it.
Have all the golden tickets sold out?
They have all been found.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, everyone had a lot of fun with that. I think it struck a chord and resonated with a little bit of nostalgia. Everyone's seen, not everyone, but most people have seen the 1971 movie, and contextually relevant with Wonka coming out. So that was a lot of fun. And yeah, we'll have to figure out how to bring it back someday, but we'll cross that bridge later. And yeah, we have one other one that by the time this airs will be in the final week or weeks of, but a play on March Madness. So the basketball tournament, college basketball, every year, people fill out brackets, and it's always like a fun thing to do with your friends. Some people have pools where they'll put some money in and win some money if their bracket does well. But we have created a a version of that we call Munch Madness. So we pulled sales from 16 of our most popular candies, seeded them in a bracket style tournament. They go head to head each week in a sales off. Whichever item is purchased more advances to the next round. We've invited people to fill out brackets for this. So at the moment, we have close to 500. I'm hoping today is the last day for submissions. I hope we hit 500. That would be a fun one. But fill out a bracket and we'll have prizes for the highest scoring brackets. If anyone submits a perfect bracket and guesses the score of the final week, so 2 items, how many of each will be sold, if they guess that correctly, they'll win $10,000. So this one's been super fun. We will see how impactful it is once the actual quote unquote tournament begins, and what happens to sales, because that's the ultimate measure of the efficacy there. It's not just for that, like there's a really valuable engagement component and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's the next big one we're doing right now.
It's a really unique idea.
So it stemmed from, like, obviously March Madness is the influence, and that's been around for a long time. At DoorDash, during March, I think this 3rd year I was there, maybe in the Chicago office, we decided to do something very similar. We pulled local Chicago restaurants, pulled their sales each week, average sales over the past couple months, and we seeded them in a tournament. And then we created brackets and we sent it around to everybody at the office to fill out their bracket. And then we pulled sales each week. I think we bought like a 5-foot trophy. I have a picture of it somewhere, but like a huge gaudy trophy. And like it ended up getting circulated outside of the Chicago office, and a bunch of people like thought it was really funny and fun. We filmed a far less professional video introducing the teams, like a selection show style video. So we did that there, and it was a lot of fun. It resonated there, and I think that's kind of the spark of where this one came from. So it was something that had a little, for lack of better words, experimenting with that went well back in the day, and unconsciously kind of had that thought in the back of my mind when we had the store, and like, if you can bring the format back and do it again, why not? So I'm hoping this can, I don't hope, like this will become an annual thing we do every year. How it will change and evolve over time, we will see. But this is one of those things where it's not designed necessarily this way, but summertime and like Christmas time, holidays, that's peak for candy season. Fortunately, this falls in more of a lull of all that kind of stuff. So it's a nice thing to be able to have something that should, drum up some more business and engagement and everything at a time that's seasonally not super popular for candy and for retail.
I just love the connection between like a real world event and then your candy store. It's like that and the Bro Bar are both just like your ideas there are brilliant, because it's something is already on people's minds. They're already so familiar with it, and then they connect it to your store.
Right.
It's like, that's just like really brilliant.
We talked about this a little bit, I think, last time, but like, look, pretty much anything in our store, you could go online and buy.
Right.
You could go online and buy like way more than we carry in our store. So when that is the case, I think there's a couple things you have to do to make people want to like take the time and energy and physically come to your store. And you can buy online from us too, and we encourage that. But like, why would you shop with us if you can go and get a Hershey's bar for like 25 cents cheaper at a gas station, or go online and buy stuff? You got to build, it sounds cheesy, you got to build like a brand around it. So what goes into that, I think, is, or what we've at least tried to do, is like the design of the store, having it be like a fun place. We play music. It's I'm biased. I think it's pretty nice.
No, it's enjoyable because I walked in to get the Burrow Bar.
Yeah.
It's an enjoyable experience just walking in. It is.
So you got to create that. And then on top of that, you got to manufacture things that people will find fun, unique, different, engaging, that will help you stand out. So like the Wonka Bar, Munch Madness, like those are things that, I mean, I haven't seen stuff like that before. Maybe it exists, but like those are fun excuses to engage with this place and build an affinity for it, and get people to be like, man, like that place is fun and awesome, and I like it, and I like them, and I have fun with what they're doing. So if I'm thinking about getting some sweet, like, let's go to the sweet spot. So we're not going to be able to do millions of those, and I'm sure there will be things we try and do that don't resonate and don't hit. But if you can find a couple that do, and then you can consistently do them, we talked about it before, but it kind of compounds over time, and then you win people over, and they'll be your customers for life. So that's what we're trying to do. Time will tell if it's successful.
Well, this is why you guys are like having success, I think, as business owners. Because you answered the question earlier. I had the question earlier. I was like, why is someone not going to Motomart? They have some of the candy, not as big a selection as you. I was like, why? And then you said it's even 25 cents cheaper. But you've done the Munch Madness and the Burrow Bar. And then Logan's done this. I've seen this with Alpha Candles. It's like, okay, we're not getting a lot of foot traffic. And then he comes up with this idea of like, okay, we'll just do an event where people get to experience making a candle. And it's like you're creating like a store or whatever you want to call it. You're creating a brand and experience for people. And I think this is why you guys are being successful. Because I've seen other like stores that are not creating sales and they don't pivot that way.
Yeah.
They don't create that experience. So it's really fascinating. Like you answered a question I was thinking about that, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, that is what he's doing." Like it's just. I think it's unique. I don't think every person has the ability to do that. That's why a lot of store like owners are failing.
Yeah, I mean it's a gamble to do this stuff. I think there's no reason why everybody couldn't do something like this. Now it's got to be like relevant to your business and make sense and resonate with your customers, and depending on what business you operate, brick and mortar or not, like doing the Munch Madness thing or some version of that is like not going to make sense for everybody, right? So like it's got to be relevant to your business, and I think more importantly, like it's got to be relevant to your customers. So knowing who your customers are, working backwards from what they would find fun, engaging, interesting. Not all brands have like that fun kind of association that we do, so we're fortunate in that sense. But I do think anybody could do something like that. Executing it well and like putting the time and effort to do it is a risk though. Like the time you would put towards creating a campaign, whatever it might be, and then launching it, like it could fall flat and it could do nothing. And some people don't like taking that risk. Some people do. So I don't want to make it seem like we're like super special or crazy or different. I do think we've tried some things that have worked pretty well, and we've had a lot of fun with it, and like we're gonna just keep riding that train and try to do more. But I do think other places could do it. Knowing how to do it, what prevents people, if you don't have the idea necessarily, maybe you do, but then like executing all the components of it to do it well, I think there's a lot that goes into that, and some people can get intimidated by that sometimes. So I don't know. I would love to see more of it. Like I would participate in more things that people do if they had ideas. But we're in one town here. I've started to see way more just in Hillsboro of people doing stuff. Opera House had the 24 days of Christmas, and they gave some away, and like that was awesome. There's stuff going on all the time. So I think as people see more things that resonate and are successful, they themselves have ideas and they go try stuff, which is fun to just see that flywheel go.
Absolutely. You also not too long ago implemented a reward system. So how has that been going, and what really was the overall goal of starting that?
Yes, so it's been going well. I think, and I worked a little bit on loyalty and rewards at DoorDash towards the end. My last couple of years there, we were building a version of that in the app. So I had like a little bit of exposure and experience with it from doing that. But it goes kind of back to what we were talking about earlier around this is a candy store. You can get candy lots of places. Like, what is the reason why you would come and spend your money and time with us versus somewhere else? We'll reward you for that. So like the thinking is I want to reward customers for spending with us, like frankly. And I think it is difficult to measure the efficacy in the short term of programs like that. I think it takes a while to see how impactful they are. And if a person was going to come back, once a month, do they now come back twice a month because of this? Like, I can't answer that. And honestly, I don't even think you don't have like a real world A/B test that you can operate this in. So our goals with it are get as many people as possible in the program so that they can earn rewards for every dollar they spend. And then over time, I want to give rewards members exclusive inventory, exclusive experiences, things like that. So we will make being a rewards member more valuable over time. It doesn't cost anything to join. Doesn't matter if you come, once or 10 times. Every dollar you spend, you get a point. Those points over time can be redeemed for gift cards, free candy, things like that. But I want to create another way to engage with people and give them reason to come back. So if your dollar goes a little bit further when you come back, and or you get first access to this exclusive international candy that we have coming in that we only have so much of, like those are all things that I hope will make being a rewards member valuable, but also give people another like good reminder / excuse to come visit the store.
Yeah, all about increasing those visits.
Exactly.
People in.
Exactly.
Yeah. Whenever you first launched this, I was talking to you about it, and something you said to me really changed my mind shift about it. So a few years ago, I read a book, and the guy, he hates loyalty programs. It was a guy who he's run tons of coffee shops and he just hates them. The reason he was against them is because he says it's not a loyalty card like the punch things. Yeah. It's a discount card. You look in someone's wallet, they probably have like 10 different ones of those for different coffee shops. And I was explaining that to you, and you're like, it doesn't matter if it is a discount. Are you still up in the long run? Is the person visiting the store more? Who cares if it is just they're getting it for 5% cheaper? It doesn't matter. They're still coming back more frequently and spending more money and, building your brand, because if they're coming back more and enjoying it, they're probably going to tell their friends.
Right. It's about incrementality.
Yes.
Or at least that's how I think about it.
Yeah. And you still have to measure, they're coming more, maybe it's a little cheaper. Is it worth it? But it most likely is going to be in the long run.
So long as the frequency is increased enough, then
to offset
the discount should pay for itself. Yeah. And I also think it's tough to, if face value, you are, depending on how you set your thing up, you're going to lose profit margin on that single transaction. But you can't look at that single transaction in a vacuum. You need to look at that lifetime value as a whole.
Yes.
And this is where it becomes difficult to measure, and people get scared by things that you can't perfectly measure. But over the long run, is that affinity and frequency going to increase? And then, the brand awareness, people go more, they talk about it with their friends more. You can't really measure that. It's really difficult to, but you just have to have the belief that you're going to deliver on the service and experience that will result in that happening. And then if that does happen, then it will be worth it. So it's tough to put a dollar amount on that.
And it just makes so much sense to try to increase that lifetime value, because the hardest part about business, in my opinion, is getting the person to say yes the first time. After that, any further yeses are easier. They've already got buy-in to your brand. Josh and I he actually coined the term, we call it the vortex. So you got up here, all these people that, maybe they come in, they've bought candy one time. Yeah. And then down here, maybe you have people who are coming in every day. There's a smaller amount of people that spend more money frequently, but once they're at the bottom, they're worth a lot more money.
100%. I like that. The vortex. That's good. We did too much mind-numbing funnel work at DoorDash. So I spent a lot of time thinking about that, but it's true. You have your top of funnel, and then once you acquire someone, it is far easier to, you don't necessarily need to reacquire them, but get the frequency up.
Yes.
And you're just going to have a curve in the value of the people that it's 80-20 rule that spend the most. There's going to be a small amount of them, but the more people you can shove into that category, the more valuable it becomes. So it is worth it often to incentivize people to become that. It is difficult to know 100% what it's going to take to turn Logan into a weekly visitor. What do I need to give you to be that's the greatest thing ever? I'm coming in every week and I'm spending all my money. Don't spend all your money.
Just keep carrying cream savers. That's all you gotta do.
It'd be bad to spend all. But that's kind of that's the puzzle to try to figure out. And it's fun. It's fun to do that. And you're not always going to be able to measure it, but you should be able to look at if you capture data on your customers and frequency, which loyalty helps you do, then you can start to see what their behavior looks like over time. And did you push more people into that higher frequency bucket?
The loyalty program helps you capture frequency of those customers more.
Yeah. So the way that ours works, at least, is it's based on your phone number. I promise anyone that's signing up or thinking about signing up, I won't spam you that much. And Square connects it to your card if you use a card. If you don't use a card, then you can just type your phone number in, and it gives you points each transaction you make.
Okay.
So you just accrue points over time, every dollar you spend, and then I set the thresholds by which points can be redeemed for rewards. And you can update rewards, set as many as you want. There's different tiers, which we don't talk too much about, but like after you spend 100 points or spend $100, you're in our taste tester tier. And then you get 1.1 multiplier on your points. And then I think it's 250, 500. There's additional tiers that give you bigger point multipliers. But then there's like bigger incentives for the more points you have. I don't remember all the rewards we have set up, but like you can spend, I don't even want to say it for fear of being wrong, but
yeah. Is that long-term, like something you might send out to your loyalty customers in emails? Like, hey, you've just reached this point.
Right.
Yeah,
100%.
I got you.
And like Square automates
This
this for you, which is nice.
Sweet.
So you don't have to use these, but you can set up automation triggers when someone is close to a threshold or close to being able to redeem a reward, or once they have just earned a new reward. Just as a reminder, it's just like another touch point for like, hey, you got 100 points. You're now in this tier. And if you want, you can spend those 100 points on a gift card. So it's just like a good, you don't want to spam people, but like that type of content is contextually relevant, and people wouldn't not necessarily know it otherwise, but you have free stuff. Like that's usually a fun message to receive. So it should help over time, get people in there more.
Yeah. What would you say are more on a personal level? What are some of your long-term goals, and how does the sweet spot tie into that?
Okay. Put very simply, like I just want to enjoy my time. And I want to have control over my time.
Mm-hmm.
Those are like the two very simple things that I would like. So if I'm spending time, like you can call it working at the store, like so long as I'm enjoying that and having fun with it, then I'm good working. If I someday have a kid and want to like not work and go coach the kid's team, like I want to be able to just make the decision to do that. So it's honestly really that simple. And fortunately, before we embarked on this candy journey, I thought that this would be something that if it goes well, like I would have a lot of fun tinkering with for the next 5, 10, however long years. And so far that's proved to be true. But it's not like there's not challenges that happen, and I'm sure more difficulties will crop up and things you got to figure out. But at least for me right now, like that's all part of the game and something I find fun doing. So, so if I'm having fun, like again, enjoying it, and like there's other things that are important. It's not all like selfishly about me. Like I very much enjoy creating opportunities for other people. I think it would be awesome for this to create like pretty good jobs for people in small towns everywhere. I don't need to own it necessarily. This is where it gets into franchising stuff and all that. But like if you can make a good living out of operating a candy store, and like the community finds a lot of joy out of going there, like that's pretty badass, I think.
Yeah.
To help create that.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to do. And I'm very much enjoying it right now, and the things that like are on the horizon and opportunities we see. Very excited to go try that stuff. Don't know if it'll all work. We'll figure it out when we get there. But that's fun. And like, it's a candy store. We're closed 2 days a week. We're open like 5-6 hours a day when we are open. I have a good amount of time to do other things that I want. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Sweet. No pun intended.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, go ahead and plug your socials, website, if someone's looking to shop or just kind of learn more about the Sweet Spot.
Absolutely. Trythesweetspot.com. That's our website. since we started, I had a lot of people interested in how the business is going. So on my LinkedIn, it's just my name. You can probably find me there. We post a monthly update with all the things that are happening at the store. If you're interested, you can learn a lot more about it and what's happening there. And yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
It's fun.